Hey guys, so we're going to be a little bit all over the place in this video because Kooper is going to be coming from DC and Katie and Marie are going to be coming from Kentucky. And Marie has prior business here in town, so she's going to be late a little bit in the shoot. But we're lucky that 3 of the Parabellum athletes who are part of the Army Warrior Fitness team are going to be in town, especially with Katie because she heads the Army Warrior Fitness team, at least on CrossFit side of it. So some of the stuff that we're going to be covering are what exactly is the Army Warrior Fitness team? How do you get in? What type of support you get once you're in there? What's the dynamics between other athletes because, you know, they got different coaches and so many more. All right, guys, enjoy. All right, guys, thanks for coming. Katie, what is the Warrior Fitness team and how do you get in?
So the Army Warrior Fitness team is a group of soldiers, active duty, National Guard, and Reserve, who compete in both strongman and CrossFit. They are people who are at the top of their game in both those sports. And the whole idea behind the team is to market and brand the Army to just better connect with the general population. So we actually fall under Army recruiting and more specifically the Marketing and Engagement Brigade. So we work as a marketing tool for the Army. So by going to CrossFit competitions, strongman competitions, and winning, we represent the Army, and then we connect with people to just kind of tell our Army stories. So tell them what we do in the Army, show them that the Army is more than just what you usually think of it, right, as training and fighting and those things, that you can be in the Army and still follow your passions. You can still compete in what you love. And so we just try to show the general population that that's our main objective. And then to get in, we have a annual tryout process. So we actually just had them the past 2 weeks. For CrossFit, it was a 2-week period with 5 workouts released. So you had 2 weeks to do those 5 workouts. And then just like any online qualifier, at the end, there's a leaderboard. And currently we're going through all the videos and reviewing them and watching them. This year, we're thinking of taking about the top 10 males and females. We still have to do a whole interview process after the qualifiers. And then from there, we'll select the team moving forward. And all of that is for our at-large team, meaning they will stay at their current duty stations, doing their current jobs, kind of like Kooper here, and then coming TDY, meaning temporary duty assignments, to competitions for us. But then another big thing that we do, so we don't just compete, we also go to like national conventions, the CrossFit games, and we have a booth, kind of like if you think of Vendor Village or something like that, to just talk with people and again market the Army. For the strongman side of things, theirs is resume based, so they use a resume process and then just kind of pick the soldiers from there.
So how many are in the team right now, specifically for CrossFit?
So for CrossFit right now, we have 6 people that are at Fort Knox full-time, meaning that's our team that's in-house. And then we have 13 at-large members, meaning that they are at their current duty stations and then they come to competitions and other things for us.
Kooper, what's your job and how do you fit in training? What is your job?
Right now, I'm an EOD technician. I'm stationed at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. So that's 100% of my job is the daily duties and roles of a EOD team leader. So basically, I have to fit in training on my own. So I have to schedule around planning for training, which can be tough. We do TDY quite a bit, so just making it a priority. And then on top of that, being able to travel. So we have to work around our schedule, plan out like quite a bit of time in the future to go compete with the fitness team. So how long is your workout per day? So yeah, me personally, we have to work out in the morning. Just Army, you got to do morning PT. So generally like 7 to 9, so like 2 hours there. And then I like to do a lunchtime workout, so I'll go from like 11 to 1. So roughly 4 hours in the gym.
So how about you, Katie, over with the team? I mean, what's the schedule like when it comes to training?
So we get a lot of flexibility in our schedules, which is nice. So we can kind of decide when's best for us to train. Some people like to train in the morning. Some people like to train later in the day. Me personally, I usually try to get most of my training done early in the morning. I start around 7 and then usually I finish up around 10. I just like starting my day like that. And then usually I'll do a second session, but a little less intense. So usually my accessory work, some physical therapy type exercises, things like that, later in the day. So I'd say probably around the same as Kooper. I'm training about 4 hours per day.
Is there a quota for how many competitions you have to do per year or how many competitions do you have to win? Because like I've seen you guys go to a lot of competitions. It's like pretty impressive too. Like you guys are podiuming a lot. But how many of those competitions are you required to go throughout the year?
Yeah, so there's no requirement set in stone for us. It's really up to us to decide what competitions are going to be best for the team that year and what competitions are going to market the Army the best as well. And that kind of changes as CrossFit changes. CrossFit is very, I would say, just kind of flexible. There's new competitions popping up all the time. So it really just depends on that year and whether people are going individual or team. I would say on average, we compete about once per quarter. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that, but big competitions probably about 4 per year for each person. And then again, sometimes they're team versus individual, but we do get a lot of flexibility in deciding how we want to do that. So it's not set in stone of, hey, you have to do these 3 competitions every year. We always participate in the CrossFit Games season, meaning the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, with the ultimate goal for everybody of making the CrossFit Games.
Is there a cap to how many athletes you can bring in to the team?
Right now, there's no cap set in stone either. We have a TDA for the team at Knox,
What's
meaning
TDA?
a TDA is a, do you know what it stands for? It's some Army term that stands for the amount of people that you have in a unit. I can look.
Probably an MTO.
It's similar to an
MTO.
MTO. It's the same, yeah. Same.
Probably some
I think
allowance.
an allowance
Total
for
TDA.
how many
We can look it up.
people
You
you
wanna
can
look it
have.
up?
Yeah, we should look it up.
Yeah.
Would you think that would help?
TDA, yeah,
TDA.
TDA Army.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think there's about 12 people that we can have at Knox at once. So we're not even full right now, but there's no cap on how many at-large people we can have. The budget flexes as well, so it depends on how much money we have to support what competitions. That's why there's nothing ever really set in stone.
That said, what kind of support do you get when it comes to competition?
Yeah, so any competition, we generally get the whole TDY paid for. TDY meaning, again, temporary duty. So the competition is your place of duty. So they fly you to the competition, you get lodging at the competition, you get a daily per diem rate, as well as any other expenses that you need. If you're a National Guard or Reserve soldier, your unit puts you on orders to go to that competition. So it's a really amazing perk of being in the Army, and I feel like it's probably the best job I'll ever have in my whole life. So it's pretty cool.
So yeah, Cooper, what was the biggest competition you've ever done?
The largest competition I've ever done is semifinals. So last year, 2024?
Correct.
2024, this year. But we went to North America West.
Also correct.
West Coast Classic
Nice.
as a team, which was myself, 2 civilians, and then Katie. Katie was on the fitness team already. I was not on the team at the time.
Were you able to still get support from the team? Because like you were both in a CrossFit team.
Yeah.
In the semis, were you still able to get support? Or?
No. Short answer is no. The Army had nothing to do with it. It was just CrossFit's always just been an extracurricular, like a hobby. I had to take leave, pay out of pocket. Now being on the team, I'm actually TDY right now doing this. But the fitness team funding will do 100% of the 100% of the costs. So flights, hotels, rental car, per diem, everything. That's for much like lower tier competitions rather than semifinals.
That's actually really nice. But do you get to bring like other people outside of the team, like runners?
No, yeah, that would be nice. I would love to have somebody carrying my bags around. But unfortunately, yeah, it's just yourself, and then you can pay to have someone come if you want to support.
If I'm nice enough to my girlfriend, she'll take care of that.
My husband, yeah.
I'm usually not, so usually not.
Okay, let's talk about Parabellum. You said 20% of the athletes in the team are Parabellum athletes. So talk about like the dynamic between you guys and the other team members, because you have different coaches.
So yeah, everyone. So the Parabellum athletes are myself, Kooper, and then Marie, who's going to be joining us here in a little bit. So there's 3 of us currently that are under Clayton's guidance and coaching. And so how it works is most people come on the team as an individual athlete. And so they've already been doing CrossFit for so long. So they're kind of set in their ways with their coaching programs, who they follow, what camp they fall under. And so once you're really comfortable with your coach, your training camp, it's really hard to change. And so most people stick with the person that's got them to be at this level. So we have a Mayhem athlete, we have some Golden Line training athletes. So everyone just kind of stays with their own coach. But we do try to do qualifier workouts together. So in August at Fort Knox, we all did the Crash Crucible qualifier workout. So it was really good to push each other on those. And then we have tried to do a day once a week where we train together. It's turned into more of like working on skill work together. That seemed to work best, because what happens is if Marie did toes to bar, chest to bar yesterday, but I have that workout today, then it's hard to train together and like really hone in on your training. So even though everyone is following their own programs, we do get together to be a team during different events and stuff.
So since you guys are working with Clayton, how about we start out with like, how did you end up with Clayton to begin with?
Prior to going to Fort Belvoir, I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado Springs, and CrossFit Endemic is where Clayton and Parabellum come from, or that's like the home of them. So naturally just found a CrossFit gym near Fort Carson, and that was Endemic, and Clayton is a head coach, and then the rest is kind of history. Just worked out here. Clayton is the guy.
So for me, since I started CrossFit in 2016, I was mostly a class kind of gal. I just did it as a way to stay fit and in shape. And so when I moved to Colorado, I started doing classes at CrossFit Endemic. I did my first big it was kind of a local competition, but it was actually here at Endemic, I think in 2022. And I did really well. And I was like, hey, maybe I'm good at this thing. So I started training a little bit harder at that point. And then maybe 6 to 8 months later, I asked Clayton to start programming for me. That way I could still do a lot of the class workouts. He would just make them harder, and then he would give me some extra stuff to do on the side. And it just always felt really natural. He's amazing at what he does. He knows what he's talking about. He's super supportive. If I'm not feeling something someday, or I'm curious why we're doing something, he's always there to explain it. And so I just feel really comfortable progressing, and I feel like I've become an insanely better athlete over the past 2 years under his guidance.
So Kooper, yeah, you've been doing your own programming for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And then what's your first impression when you onboarded into Parabellum?
So Clayton and I had history just from 3 years of training at his gym, as well as him programming like a couple workouts a week kind of thing. But he's really good at knowing what you're like secretly weak at and exposing it and making you do it. It's very, very uncomfortable and it sucks. But every single day there's a piece that he like gets in your mind weirdly and like sneaks in the one thing you don't want to do. It's crazy. But he just gets to know you. He's a really good guy. So he just like, it's more of a personal thing rather than just like a do my workout kind of thing. He's more personal and just like relationship wise rather than just you're working out, you're paying me for workouts. It's more of like a relationship.
Katie, can you talk about how he assesses you and how he tracks progress?
Sure. So I think the assessing process is kind of just always a work in progress. So sometimes we'll repeat workouts to see how it compares to a couple months ago. But we're always kind of tracking our strength numbers. He keeps a really close eye on all of our numbers and what we're hitting on a weekly basis. We've been doing a lot of conjugate style strength training, which has been amazing for my squat numbers. And so I think it's more of just an evolution process than anything. I don't think there's 1 week where I'm assessing exactly what you're going to do. It's more of just flowing with it and kind of seeing what's what each week, and then just progressing from there. He's really a really smart guy, and so he just kind of knows where you need to go with it. If you've gotten really better or a lot better at one thing, you're still struggling at something else, then he'll kind of move in the direction that you need to go.
So how about your teammates? Can you speak about their skills as well?
Yeah, so this past year, we have Jack Rosema on the team. He's also an at-large athlete. He made the CrossFit Games last year, which was amazing. It was his rookie year. He's a Mayhem athlete. We also have Max Krieg, who's been to semifinals the past 2 years as an individual. He's right on the cusp of making the games, and I think this year's the year for him. He has his own coach. Her name is Lynette, and follows her stuff. We also have Emma Harving. She's also an individual semifinal athlete, as well as Sydney Moskowitz. She has been to semifinals on a team. Bianca Gardner has been to semifinals on a team twice. So a lot of semifinal level athletes, and we're really hoping to kind of push the envelope this year and see how much further we can make it.
How many people are trying to get in right now based on like the applications that you've received so far?
For the tryout process, we had like 500 people sign up for the tryouts, which was amazing. I can't tell you how many people actually completed all 5 workouts. I think it's closer to like the 100 mark. I think people saw some of the workouts and we're like, maybe this is, because we tried to program them so they'd be like quarterfinal level. So there's handstand walking, strict handstand push-ups, things like that. But again, we're still kind of going through that video review process. But yeah, a lot of applicants this year for sure.
To those of you guys who are listening on the podcast, Marie just came in, so we're just gonna ask some questions about her. So Marie, tell us about like your background in swimming and how did it help you out in CrossFit, and how did it help you out to get into the CrossFit team itself?
So I grew up swimming. That's where my background is athletically. I swam for 16 years, including in college. And then when I finished my college swimming career, I still wanted to maintain a high level of fitness. I knew I was joining the Army, knew I wanted to be part of a community. So I had friends who were doing this thing called CrossFit. I had absolutely no idea, kind of no comprehension of what it was. I was just like, oh, it seems cool. They seem like fit individuals. Let me give it a try. And I just found a local box and just went for it.
I've wanted to ask this, Katie and Marie, do you compete against each other in the team? And how's that like?
We compete every day in training.
I think we're both very different athletes. So it's kind of natural to just train together. Marie pushes me on certain workouts where I can push Marie on certain workouts. We have completely different strengths. So I think at the end of the day, if the person around you, if you're in a room where you're the best person, you got to get out of that room, right? And I think you were asking before about what's the perk of moving to Knox. And I think that's one of the best things is you're surrounded by people who are better than you, and that's only going to make you better. And so that's probably the coolest thing about it. So we're all, I mean, I guess you could say we're all competing with each other every day, but at the end of the day, if we're not, then how are we getting the other person better? And at the end of the day, I just want my teammates to be the best versions of themselves too.
Marie, what's your take?
That's something I thought about a lot, actually, when I was getting ready to move to Knox. And Katie and I had a couple different conversations when we were both still in Colorado about this. Was we want to kind of seize the opportunity. We're moving to Knox. We're focusing on training, competing, focusing on CrossFit. How do we leverage that? How do we make the most of it? And at the time, we had separate coaches. I wasn't part of Parabellum yet. And then when I moved to Knox, I kind of made that decision that, hey, I would love to have a training partner every day. It's way more fun that way. I feel like you get more out of it. You can kind of definitely see your holes more and honestly, the big motivator for me was just to enjoy training. It sucks training alone. So I really do enjoy Katie every day pushing me. She was nice. She's like, oh, there's some things that Marie pushes me on. There's some things I push her on. But like Katie gets me in the ground every day. So it's great. Don't let
ask her
be
about
nice.
Squat workouts.
So yeah,
ask Marie what she can squat and the echo bike. It's unreal.
So to close out, can you give words of encouragement to those who are trying to join the team?
My advice would just be to stick with it. So if it's something that you want, you'll find the time to work really hard at it. Make sure that you're in a good environment. I think that's most important. So finding a good gym that has some good coaches that can really help you with some technique work, some strength work, just being as well-rounded as you can, and then just staying consistent. You don't need to go all out, have this crazy schedule, right? Just training 1 to 2 hours per day, eating right, sleeping well will do a lot for you. So just kind of staying consistent and finding a great environment to be in would be my biggest words of encouragement.
One, kind of set a goal for yourself, and then so maybe your goals make the fitness team set short-term, mid-term goals to get yourself there, to kind of keep you on track. And I'd also say make the most of the time that you have. You know, in the Army, there's going to be moments and training cycles where you're maybe not doing quite as much at work. You have more time, but then you're going to have moments where you're showing up early and you're the last one to leave, and it's hard to train at a level that is maybe more conducive to high performance, competitive elite athletes. So just making the most of what time you have.
My personal experience with the team, I came in 4th last year at the tryout. They took the top 3, so I didn't make the team. And there was like a different, like a mental switch where then I decided that the team was it's just something to keep you going. You know what I mean? Like the little carrot on the stick. Once I didn't make the team, then you're left with, well, now I have another year to train, which is great. But then I almost kind of forgot about it after that time because I was like, whatever, it didn't work out. I had accepted pretty strongly that I wasn't on the team. Then we make it to semifinals, then I'm on the team. So it's ironic how it worked out that if the end goal was truly for me to make the team, if in 2023 not making it would have crashed all my hopes much more than if I had developed I really enjoy doing CrossFit. I really care about this, getting better a little bit and a little bit. So the internal motivators are more important than the external.
I guess thanks for watching. If you're interested in learning how CrossFit competitors train compared to how CrossFit exercises train, go ahead and check this video over here. My guest in that video is Paul Weber, and he has over 400 competitors under his belt. So go ahead and check that out. I'll see you next time.